Hey guys, Mr. Farmer here. I apologize for my appearance. I just got in from building a chicken coop, if you can believe that. But yeah, here we are. Today we're doing Chapter 14, Printing and Plotting. Chapter 14, Printing and Plotting. Got a lot of objectives in this video. I'm going to try my best to cover everything, but we'll see how it goes. Objectives. Number 1, know the typical steps for printing or plotting. Number 2, be able to use the Plot dialog box and the Page Setup Manager. Number 3, be able to select from available plotting devices. Number 4, be able to specify what area of the drawing you want to plot. 5, be able to preview the plot before creating a plotted drawing. Number 6, be able to specify a scale. 7, know how to set up a drawing for plotting. Number 8, be able to use the table of limits settings to determine your limit, scale, and paper size. And finally, number 9, know how to configure plot and print devices in AutoCAD. In other words, know how to add a printer. Real quick, let's talk about the difference between plotting and printing, since we've been using those two words interchangeably for a while now. Plotting and printing are not the same thing, so I will show you an example of each. Here is a printer, right? This is what you think of sitting on your desk or maybe in your office, and you can print out pictures, maybe of cats. And typically these print on paper sizes that are 8.5 by 11 inches. Or legal size paper, or some of them even print on B size paper. B is in Bravo. That's 11 by 17 inches. So that's a printer, right? What you're familiar with. So what is a plotter? Well, a plotter is this, and I have one of these in my classroom. If you've been in here for any length of time, you've seen it on the back wall. A plotter uses pins, and we'll talk about that later, to actually plot out an image or a drawing or a blueprint or a schematic. These things are humongous. They're gigantic, they're expensive, but they have a wide range of capabilities. So this is a plotter. I think this prints up to 42 inches wide, and you can print off of a roll. So technically, I guess you could print as long as the roll is, but that's a plotter. But for the purposes of this video, when I say plot, you can take that to mean print. And if I say print, you can take that to mean plot, just so we don't get confused, right? Okay, so let's do this. Got some notes here. So in AutoCAD, the term plotting can refer to plotting on a plot device, like we just talked about, or printing with a printer, like a LaserJet printer. There's two methods to create and save plot specifications for a layout. So you can see I've got a sample layout here. This is like an axle assembly, and what I'm going to do is print it or plot it. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, right? So let's just start with this. Let's type plot, P-L-O-T, plot, right? And we've got this plot layout 1, and there's a lot of stuff to get through here. We'll just start at the top and work our way down. We got page setup. So this is where you've got saved templates of page setup parameters that you've saved in the past. You can import these if you have one. Notice that we don't have any right now, so we could add a page setup. Well, what does that look like? If I click add, it's going to ask me for a new page setup name. So new page setup 1, right? And I can save all of my parameters here and save it under this new page setup 1, right? Okay. Printer / plotter. This is just what printer you're going to use or what plotter you're going to use. We probably won't use one in here, but this is where you would get to that, and you can select properties. Notice it gives you an image of the paper that you're plotting on. This is 8.5 by 11 inches, which is just regular paper. Paper size. You can select all these different sizes. So it just defaulted to the previous paper size, but they've got all of the ANSI, ISO architectural sizes here. One that we use a lot is this ANSI-B. It's 11 by 17 inches. A lot of engineers use that for schematics. Okay, plot area. What to plot? These terms should look familiar to you. If you remember the video on zooms, the different types of zooms, these are kind of like those, right? We can zoom a window, we can zoom extents. So in case you don't remember what those things mean, let's see here. Extents. If we use extents, plotting extents is similar to zoom extents, like I just said. this option plots the entire drawing, including all objects, disregarding any of the limits that have been set, right? So this is going to get everything. If I select extents, it's going to get every part that I've drawn on this thing, right? If I select, let's see here, if I select window, I can draw a window, and that's what it's going to plot, right? I can specify what window I want to be plotted out. There's also view. With this option, you can plot a named view previously saved using the view command. If you save a view, you can go back and plot that view. Let's see, what else here? All right, plot scale. Notice you can fit to paper, so it just automatically adjusts it to fit whatever paper you selected. Or you can do a custom scale, 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 1, or whatever you would like. Down here, it actually gives you some measurements, some crossovers. So that's your scale. And then you can scale your line weights as well. So you can be ANSI compliant on your dash thicknesses and everything else. Let's see here, plot style table. This is for pen assignments. This is for a plotter. A printer wouldn't need any of this stuff. It just tells what pens to use when you're plotting. Quality, you can choose the quality. And then we've got a lot of plot options here. Plot in background, plot with plot lines, plot stamp on, save changes to layout. This is important. If I change anything, save changes to layout, check this box if you want settings you make, this in the page setup, to be saved with the drawing for the selected model or layout tab. Selecting this option and making a plot has the same effect as pressing the Apply to Layout button, right? So I can apply all of these details to this particular layout by selecting that, right? And then, of course, you got portrait or landscape. You can plot upside down, all that kind of stuff, right? And then that Apply to Layout, that's just, it's kind of the same thing here, right? So that's plotting. Good. There's also the Page Setup Manager. Page Setup Manager. Page Setup. So here, there's our page setup that we just made, right? Here we can create that new page setup, but you'll notice this is kind of strange. Here we go. We were thinking, whenever this decides to load, you'll notice that we're not able to actually print or plot from this dialog box. You can create your page setup here, but you can't print or plot from it. So it's only good for a limited scope. Okay, we're going to try that again. My AutoCAD crashed, but I'm back with you now. So as I was saying, page setup, you can create your layouts or your layout parameters, but you can't actually print from this dialog box. It allows you to set and save plotting specifications. These are called page setups. Each layout can be set up to print or plot with the same or different plot devices, paper sizes, scales, plot sizes, and so on. The main difference is, one more time, you cannot plot from the Page Setup Manager. You can't. All you can do is create new page setups. So the question is, what is this good for, right? Like, if I can do everything I need to do by using the plot command, then why do I even need the Page Setup Manager? Well, I'm glad you asked. The plot dialog box includes all the features in one dialog box, right? You can modify any page setup from the Page Setup Manager, whereas you can modify only the current layout's page setup in the plot dialog box. So if you're going to work on the layouts that you created and modify some parameters for several layouts, more than just one, you would use the Page Setup Manager. But if you're only working on one layout, right here it's layout 1, you would use the plot dialog box. I hope that's clear as mud. Okay, plotting to scale. Plotting to scale. With a CAD drawing, you are not restricted to drawing on a sheet of paper. Remember, in AutoCAD, we can have a drawing, a model that's like 3 miles wide, right? There's no limitations. The geometry can be created full size. So you always set limits to provide an appropriate amount of drawing space. Then the geometry can be drawn using the actual dimensions of the object. The resulting drawing on the CAD system is a virtual full-size replica of the actual object. So if I model a bracket or an axle and it's 4 feet long in real life, when I model it on AutoCAD, it's going to be 4 feet long. on the computer, right? Not until the CAD drawing is plotted on a fixed size sheet of paper is it scaled to fit. So nothing is scaled until we plot it or print it. I hope we've driven that point home. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we've got to do a lot of calculations. We've got to talk about scales. We've got to talk about limits. So here we go. Rather than making calculations of limits, the drawing scale factor, the DSF, and plot to scale for each drawing, the table of limits settings on the following pages, I'll show you here in just a second, can be used to make calculating these things easier. So depending on your application, so let's say you're mechanical engineering or architecture, or you're using a metric template, or maybe you're civil engineering, you've got different sizes that you would use, right? If you know any two of the following three variables, the third variable can be determined using these tables. So if you know your limits and your paper size, you can determine the scale. If you know your paper size and the scale, you can determine your limits, and vice versa, right? So the book has all of these tables, right? I'll show you where to get these. They're all in the book, and you can use those to calculate what size you need. You can calculate your limits or your paper size or your scale, whatever the need may be. Speaking of which, feel free to reference these books before you take your quizzes. I know these videos tend to be kind of rushed, so feel free to reference these books and take some notes before you take your reading quiz. All right, right back to it. So let's go to Plotter Manager. Plotter Manager, there we go. What is this? Okay, Plotter Manager is a separate system which runs as an independent application to AutoCAD. It's not connected to AutoCAD. It's this separate application that helps us out. We can manage our plotters or printers, set up their parameters, that sort of thing. One of the things I want to point out is this right here, Add a Plotter Wizard. If I want to add a new plotter or a new printer, I can use this, Add a Plotter Wizard, right? And it will take you through the steps of configuring a new device, kind of like Plotter Manager, right? Okay, so, you know, I don't want to take you through all those steps there. Let's see here. Got plot styles. You can explore different plot styles. You can add plot styles just like you can add a plotter. And I think I've covered everything. Let's see, plot. Have I missed anything? Nope, we talked about plotting. We talked about page setup and what it can do. And we talked about your limits and page size, plotting to scale. Let's drive down on that really quick, right? So let's say this little axle here is 40 inches long in real life, IRL. When I model it on the computer, it is 40 inches long, right, on the computer. Of course, when I plot it or print it, I can't print 40 inches on a piece of paper this size, right? So then I have to scale it down. Well, let's say I scale it down to fit on a certain piece of paper. That's this number right here. See this 1 to 40? That means 40 inches in real life would be the equivalent of 1 inch on this piece of paper. That is the scale that you're using. And you can use that when you plot. You can use that scale right here. And we'll do some of that in class. Your exercises are going to require you to use some of the scaling. But that doesn't mean you're going to draw it to scale. That just means you're plotting to scale. Okay, that is plotting. If you have questions, feel free to email me. Remember to reference the book and take a few notes before you do your reading quiz this week. Lots of good details in here. And as always, thanks for watching.